Hello and welcome to Bible Study with Alice, and today we're on day 19, Proverbs 19 of our daily Proverbs reading. We're reading from the ESV translation, but you're more than welcome to join us from a different translation. As you can see, we're on Proverbs 19. These videos are filmed in real time. Today's date is the 19th of April 25 and it's a Saturday. You can find the previous 18 Proverbs in the playlist below. There is a disclaimer as usual, and that is one, these videos are unedited and also probably some more wording. Just to make you aware that my colouring pencil and my pink pen's missing. So I have no idea where they are at the moment. I will be looking for them later and hopefully I'll find them. So it is going to be in a different colour and I don't really mind. It doesn't actually bother me. So let's get started. Better the poor person who walks in his integrity than one who is crooked in speech and is a fool. Desire without knowledge is not good, and whoever makes haste with his feet misses his way. When a man's folly brings his way to ruin, his heart rages against the Lord. Wealth brings many new friends, but a poor man is deserted by his friends. A false witness will not go unpunished, and who breathes out lies will not escape. Many seek the favour of a generous man, and everyone is a friend to a man who gives gifts. All a poor man's brothers hate him. How much more do his friends go far from him? He pursues them with words, but does not have them. Whoever gets sent love his own soul. Whoever gets sense love his own soul. He who keeps understanding will discover good. A false witness will not go unpunished, and one who breathes out lies will perish. It is not fitting for a fool to live in luxury, much less than slave to ruin over princes. 11. Good scent makes one slow to anger, and it is his glory to overlook an offence. A king's wrath is like growling of a lion, but his favour is like dew on the grass. A foolish son is ruin to his father, and a wife quarrelling is a continual dripping of rain. House of wealth are inherited from fathers, and a prudent wife is from the Lord. Slothless cat. 15. Slothless cast into deep sleep, and an idle person will suffer hunger. Whoever keeps the commandments keep his life. He who despises his way will die. Whoever is generous to the poor lends to the Lord, and he will pay him from his deed. Discipline your son, for there is hope. Do not set your heart on putting him to death. A man's great wrath will pay the penalty, for if you deliver him, you will only have to do it again. Listen to advice and accept instruction, that you may gain wisdom in the future. Many of your plans in the mind of a man, but it is purpose of the Lord that will stand. What is desired in a man is steadfast love, and a poor man is better than a liar. The fear of the Lord leads to life, and whoever has rest satisfied, he will not be visited by harm. The sluggish buries his hand in the dish, and will not even bring it back to his mouth. 25. Strike a scoffer, and a simple will learn. Prudence reprove a man of understanding, he will gain knowledge. He who does violence to his father and chase away his mother is a son who brings shame and reproach. Cease to harm instruction, my son, and you will stray away from the words of knowledge. A worthless witness mocks at justice, and the mouth of the wicked devours iniquity. Condemnment is ready for scoffers, and beaten for the backs of fools. I do apologise that some of those wordings were a bit all over the place. Just go wait for my camera to go back into focus. That's bad. So I did stumble quite a bit on that. I do apologise. Tomorrow we'll be doing 20. we are getting closer to the end, slowly but surely. So as I have mentioned in the previous 18 Proverbs, that there's a huge chunk of Proverbs that are written by King Solomon, and historians and scholars aren't sure exactly when during his reign these Proverbs were written, just that they were written during his reign, and his reign was from 970 to 931 BC, and it offers practical wisdom on various aspects of life, emphasising the importance of iniquity, knowledge, and the consequences of both good and bad choices. So, with the proverb, or with this proverb even, it is talking about how it's important for iniquity, knowledge, and the consequences of what then happens if you pick a good choice or bad choice. And obviously there's going to be a lot of bad consequences if you pick bad choices, to get some lessons if you pick good choices. Now there is a couple of things I want to point out. So the first one is a false witness will not go unpunished, and he who breathes out lies will not escape, which is 5. So that's obviously talking about people who falsify information in situations that's happened. So for an example, let's just talk about the UK here, because that's where I'm from. I can't really say much about other countries because I don't pay attention to the news on where those countries unless it's involving the UK. It's just how I am. I just generally don't pay attention to the news because sometimes I don't want to. And so in the UK, there have been quite a few cases where I've heard, and I'm not saying they're recent, and I'm not saying how, I'm not too sure how long ago, can't really remember the ins and outs of it. I just know that these cases have happened. And with the cases in particular, what happened where somebody has accused somebody of committing a crime, and it turned out that the victim was actually falsifying that information. It didn't actually in fact happen. And also somebody has said that they were present when something happened, and it turned out that they weren't. And those people obviously did get punished for falsifying information, because obviously that is putting the person who supposedly committed the crime in a bad light, and they might have not actually done anything, but then who knows, they might have done something. But obviously in the case in points of these cases, the people that had been accused of committing the crime actually hadn't in fact committed that crime, and it just happened to be somebody that was jealous or angry because they just wanted to be angry, or just wanted to make up a good story at the expense of somebody else, basically. And obviously they had been punished. And with this in particular, or this particular verse, that's what it's talking about, that if you do become a false witness, don't be surprised. The consequences of your actions will come up, and you will be punished for that. Thing that you've done, because you will get punished, and rightfully so, because you can't go around accusing people of doing things when they haven't actually done it. So that's the first one I wanted to point out. And the second was actually underneath. No, it's not quite underneath. It goes up into, we will go underneath. So 6, many seek the favour of a generous man, and everyone is a friend to a man who gives gifts. So obviously that in particular, talking about how somebody who is very generous will give their friends gifts and will lend them money. I know a few people who do that, will lend somebody money, and will later find out that that person that they've been given that money to is not actually a good person, and that they will just leech onto you and will want more. But obviously with this particular scripture, it's obviously talking about that you will find that people will be leeching on to that generous man, and then everybody will suddenly become that man's friend because that man will give a gift. The other one I wanted to point out was what I was going to point out before. Just making sure it was the bit underneath. Oh gosh, can't find it now. I did have it in my head. To mention it. Because when I read it, I think of some things extra to add. So, and then I got them to try and find it. So I just got to try and find it quickly. It's really difficult to find what you're looking for. So is it the bit above it? Yes, it is the bit above it. So, wealth brings many new friends, but a poor man is deserted by his friends. So that's in 4. So what happens with this in particular is you'll find that if you come into some wealth, doesn't matter how you come into it, if it could be in the lottery, could be inheritance, or whichever it may be, you'll find that wealth suddenly will bring new friends to you. But as soon as you become poor, or poorer, or don't have that money anymore, you will get deserted by what it says here, deserted by your friends. So with this in particular, we'll use the lottery as an example. With the lottery, you will suddenly be coming to a lot of money because obviously that's what you've won, and then suddenly you will have people suddenly coming out the woodworks, wanting you to buy them things. Will suddenly be like, oh, can you treat me to this, can you treat me to that, can you take me out for lunch, I haven't seen you in such a long time, oh, can you treat me to this, things like that basically. And obviously it's not true, because it is true, but what I mean, it's not true that, well, basically what I mean is it's not right to do that to somebody who just suddenly comes into wealth, but people do that, unfortunately. And which is obviously the truthfulness in it is people are like that, and we just have to understand that people will always be like that regardless of it. And that's why, though, when you realise it, is there are a lot of people who don't actually announce their name. They will become anonymous when they suddenly come into money, because they know that they might have friends and family members who will come out the woodworks and will suddenly want to have that money from you, and that. And even charities do that too. There are a few charities, like mainly the local ones and the bigger ones, because the bigger ones, they generally get money from the government. There are a couple of charities that solely do get their donations from the public, but those charities don't actually go and ask you to donate money. I mean, I'm not saying that you can't donate money if you came into a lot of money. That's not the case. I'm not suggesting that you can't, and I'm not suggesting any of that, to be fair. But there are people that will just come out of the woodworks and will just suddenly want to be your friend. But then as soon as you don't have that money, they all disappear, and they all don't want to know you, because they only wanted you because you had wealth. And that's basically what that scripture is talking about. And obviously, as we know, I'll just zoom out slightly. And as we know, with the original audience for Proverbs is it's young men transitioning into adulthood, and it's just to give them that insight that if you become a false witness, you will get punished. You know, if you do suddenly come into wealth for whatever reason, that you are going to have a load of people suddenly becoming your friend and wanting you to help them and be like, oh, can you help me with this? Or my child, people do this, my child has an illness and they need medical treatment, but we go wait a long time to get it. If, say, in the UK you're on the NHS, and if you go private, the private waiting lists are actually a lot shorter. You can get an appointment privately quite soon compared to if you wait on the NHS, and that's just unfortunate the way the NHS is structured. But that's not a case of where we're going with this. But you will have that friend or so-called friend will say, oh, you know, my child's got an ill health, or my husband, my wife, my mom, my dad, whoever, has got an ill health and they need treatment and they can't afford it privately, but the long list on the NHS are shocking, which they are shocking, I will give you that. But there is, if you go privately, you will get your treatment done so much sooner and you don't have to wait for such a long time. And unfortunately, people will fall into that, like, oh, I don't want your family member being poorly, so they will then go and donate that money. But then as soon as that person then don't have no money, nobody wants to know them. They then become a recluse. They'll be a loner. They will just, you know, all those sort of things in between. So, you know, obviously, when the Bible was written, the young Jewish men, they did not have the NHS. They did not have anything like that, obviously. But I'm just kind of using that as an example in our time purpose. But when obviously this proverb was written, it was just to display the fact that if you were suddenly ill, or you suddenly come out of that money, that wealth, you won't have your friends. They will just disappear. They will disregard you like you don't matter anymore. When about 5 minutes beforehand, you were the most important person in their life, and it was generally down to the fact that they didn't care for you as a person. They cared for the materialistic wealth that you had. So that is Proverbs 19 complete. And as I said, I am writing a different colour pen for me in day 19th of the 4th, 25. Tomorrow we'll be on Proverbs 20. So, and tomorrow will be Easter Sunday, which is a Sabbath, and also it's Easter Sunday. So thank you for watching. Please like my content, please subscribe to my channel, and please turn on the notification bell so you then get notified of content like this that gets uploaded to the channel. Thank you and goodbye.